What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon ADC, and today we're taking a look at the Garage Built Gear Mightier pouch. This one's in gray wax canvas, although it's also available in several different patterns of Cordura. This is the bigger brother to the Mighty Pouch or the Mighty Pouch Plus, which I have reviewed separately on the channel. That one was also a wax canvas, not this specific version, but check that out if you're interested. Also, let me know if you'd be interested in a direct one-to-one comparison of these two in a separate video. Also, kind of the little brother to the Ultimate EDC Gear Organizer, which you can see is significantly larger. Haven't reviewed this one yet. Honestly, I just haven't carried it all that much. I've been carrying slings since I got this one, and it's just too big for them. When I go back to backpack, so I will do a review on this one. And so let's talk about the Mightier pouch now. Available for $79 when it's in stock. If you're familiar with Garage Built Gear, you know they are perpetually out of stock. Just can't keep up with the demand for them. And it feels like that's been slowing down a little bit to me. I've been having a lot of luck on all of the recent drops. Anything I've tried to get, I have been able to. So maybe I've just gotten lucky, but it does feel like these are starting to become a little bit more available, even though they eventually do sell out again. And so this is kind of a more medium-sized pouch. You saw the Mighty Pouch is definitely a more pocketable size. This will still fit in cargo pockets or maybe even your back pocket, but for me, loaded out, it's a little bit heavy for my pockets, and so I tend to throw this in a sling bag. But still a nice size at that 7 inches by 5 inches. And up front, you can see real simple design. This one does not have a hook and loop panel at the top, although a lot of them do. If you're into that, there is a generous hook and loop panel on the back, so you can still put your REs and patches and things like that. But on the front of this one, we just have the Garage Built Gear tag, which you can see is color matched to the pouch, and they do a good job with that. You saw in the multicam black, we have a slightly different tag that kind of complements that one. And so those are usually going to be color match. And then we have this front slip pocket, and I don't tend to use these on most pouches. That's actually true here too, but this one is pretty generous. One of the reasons I don't use them is once you load it out, they're always super, super tight, but you can see on this one, I can actually get my fingers in there, no problem. So you can put slightly thicker items and you can fit in most front pockets. I'm still not putting anything in there though, so that's currently empty. Now flipping over to the back side, and you'll see this is a clamshell opening pouch, and we have YKK zippers throughout. We have that silence zipper with that shrink wrap on the paracord pull on the main zipper, but it's not on this back pocket zipper. So it does make it a little bit jingly. So you may want to do something about that if that drives you crazy. I tend to not notice it when it's in a bag, but if I were carrying it in my hand or something, you'll hear that rattling as you walk. And so that might be annoying for some people. The Velcro panel here is about 2.75 inches tall, spans the entire width, so about 7 inches or so wide, although you do have those seams, so it's probably closer to about 6.5. We have that number 9 YKK zipper pocket here, and that's about 3.5 inches tall, although you can utilize the entire width of the pouch as well. If you want to put larger items in there, you just kind of have to fold them around the zipper. So we'll get that open. This one does feel a little bit tighter than that front pocket to me. Part of that's probably the zipper. It also could be partially with my loadout. It just ends up being a little bit tighter. But all I have back here is a Hank. This one from Awesome Hank, and has the leather tag. One of my favorites of his, I don't know why, it just has kind of a cool gentlemanly look. And so only have a Hank back there, but again, it is 3.5 inches and you can go above that zipper. And so 3.5 inches from the edge here. Flipping it back to the front, we can get into that main opening. Only a single zipper. I would prefer a second zipper. I like that on clamshell, so you can put the zipper at the top or the bottom and open it however you prefer, but this one is only one zipper. And so we'll get that open, and it opens nice and wide, and we'll get the gear out of there. I always like to load these out with gear so you can get a better idea of the types of items that fit in the different pockets, a little bit better than the dimensions, but I will measure those out at the end as well. And so we'll start on the left-hand side. There's a pocket that's not immediately obvious over here that spans the entire height of that pouch, and you can use the full width as well. This is great for stuff like a field notes or a log and jotter, these 3.5 by 5.5 inch notebooks. And it's also generous enough that you can put really thick items. So something like a battery bank fits back there really nicely, I found. Can even fit small phones and things like that. I know some of the bigger phones are humongous, but can fit some of the normal size phones back there as well, if that's how you choose to carry it. And so a really versatile pocket, and not immediately obvious if the object isn't wider than the pocket itself. You may not even notice that that's back there, which is nice. Up top, we have our only elastic loops, which is interesting. A lot of these pouches are dominated by elastic loops. This one has only a couple, and they're right up top, a nice kind of different orientation than we normally see as well. So in those, the topmost one's a little bit wider. This I have a ZT, and I never remember their models because they don't name them. This is the 0235 model number in carbon fiber, and you'll see I went with a lot of carbon fiber in this pouch. And so right below that, I have the i3T, and again, we'll get to those measurements, but this is slightly slimmer than that upper portion. i3T also in carbon fiber. Now under here, we have another YKK zipper, and this has a kind of change pocket. You can fit a bunch of small items in here, little flash drives, USB type things, wires, and coins as well. And so I don't have much in there right now, but I did throw an air tag in there, so if you lose it, you can track that down really easily. But it's also pretty generous in size. Let's measure this out before we move over to the other side. Not going to measure that back pocket because, again, it utilizes the full real estate of the pouch. But these elastic loops are 1-inch wide loops, and the top one is about 1.5 inches, and then that bottom one's about 1.25 inches, maybe even 1 1/8 inches. Let's measure that again. Yeah, about 1 1/8 inches actually. So you can tell that the top one has a little bit more real estate. It's not super noticeable, but if you have the wider item, you're going to want to put it in the top loop. Getting over to that other side, we have completely different organization and something that I find very interesting that I've never seen on another pouch, and that is this pen slot. And you see the bottom is kind of cut off here so that you can push that up from the bottom. Really nice, not necessarily necessary for this specific pen, but if you put kind of a small, slim item in there that doesn't have a pocket clip, it can be really hard to get items out of there. And so this one's nice because you can just push it right from the bottom. And so just kind of a nice feature that is probably pretty easy to overlook, but definitely appreciate, especially since I haven't seen it on another pouch. So in here I have a Bastion Slim carbon fiber pen. I apologize to whoever I was talking about carbon fiber pens, but I've been on the lookout for one with the carbon fiber tube that isn't wrapped around some sort of metal like aluminum, steel, or titanium. So the body and the tube of this is full carbon fiber, which I've been on the lookout for a while. So finally found one. I do have a coupon code with them now as well. So if you're looking for one of these, check out the description. I'll put that there. In the back here, we have just a couple items. Now, worth noting that if you want to put a notebook somewhere else, you can also put something like that here. Same thing with those battery packs and stuff. They fit well in these pockets. And so just a couple items in the back, we have our Leatherman Skeletal with the topo blade, as well as a pry bar. This is the Peace Neighbor Archon, or I may be pronouncing that wrong, but really nice pry bar. I like how slim the tip gets. Sometimes with pry bars, the tip's a little bit wide and it makes it less usable, but this one's super slim, so you can use it for cutting open boxes very easily. Also gets under like staples and stuff like that very nicely. And so that's it in the back pocket. We have this one front pocket that again is pretty generous in terms of the size, so it's not so tight that you can't fit wider objects than what I put in there. But I have just a standard Zippo. This is a Tobacco Tactical multicam black one with the butane soft flame insert, but you can definitely fit larger items in there as well. And so that's everything on our right side. Let's get our ruler back out and we can measure those out. So this front pocket is about, actually let's go on the inside so we can get a better sense of that, about 3.5 inches deep, and the left wider portion is about 3 inches wide. This one's probably 1.5 inches or so, but you can see the seam kind of folds over that, eats up some of that real estate. But if you don't mind folding it back, you can utilize a little bit more space than your typical pen. And then that back pocket again can go all the way to the top, use that full 6.5 inches or so, but is about 4.5 inches deep and full width. That seam does not transfer to the back, and so you can utilize that full width there. And so that's everything I have in this pouch. Would love to hear your thoughts on this one down in the comments. And again, if you've had better luck lately picking these up when they do have their drops, it could also be maybe the demand for these is the same and he's just able to produce a lot more. I'm not sure, but these are made in America, hand sewn, and come out in a ton of really cool patterns. I happen to really like wax canvas and multicam black, which is why a lot of the ones you see that I have are one of those too, but they do a ton of different varieties. So if that's not your thing, he probably will drop something with a design you like. But thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, or joining the channel as a member. Do exclusive weekly content as well as my regular content, and all of that helps out the channel a ton. Hope you enjoyed the video and have a great one. Take care.